how to build something with quality. So one of the brainwave of our CTO is actually, okay, whether we can use the passively sense the satellite signal and come up with a hyperlocal weather prediction. The advantage of the weather system is that lot of data, the past data is available.
Yes.
At least almost as like a century kind of thing. The data is available.
Yeah, welcome to the next episode of Techzila. Today we have Sudheer Krishnan. He's a co-founder of AugSense Lab based in Toronto. So he got really great stories about his research technologies and also career path. So let's tune to Sudheer Krishnan. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some of my experiences with you.
Okay. So now you've almost completed 30 years in the industry, right? So there's a long journey. So you already there for a while where the transition happened from initial phase to Y2K, all the way from the cloud transformation. Now you are actually landed in a very different world, which is unlike from somebody in IT industry usually go there in the research phase. So that journey is going to be interesting because especially the transition phase.
Yeah. I started my career in 94 with ER&DC. Now it's CDAC.
Okay.
So we when we started the career at that time, even the personal computer was actually 386 with less than 60.
86 processor.
Yeah, 16K, maybe 1 MB RAM was actually a ultimate luxury at that point of time. I still remember when my boss, later he became the ER&DC center, ER&DC head, Mr. B. Ramani. He brought the first CD player and we set it up in his PC, and when the first sound of that output came from that CD, I still it is very vividly clear in my memory now also. So that was actually the time when the entire computer industry or the computer is also becoming a kind of
the digital transformation has begun.
Just started at that point of time. So in my first part of my job, we were working in mostly in the Unix platforms. So till 2000, I was working in various Unix platform. Then at that time, slowly the internet was picking up. It became popular. Then the .com bust happened in 2002 time frame. Then we at that time we were mostly focusing on desktop applications and then distributed applications.
Okay.
Then when so my tenure at ER&DC was till 1999 June. Then I had I joined as the software engineer at Nest Technologies in Technopark. So I was there till 2004. So during that time, I got that international exposure where I work with various customers like in Japan, in power industry as well as in medical domain. Then that was actually a big learning experience.
Yeah, the way Japanese works and our working culture is completely different because they work like anything.
Yes, that has actually transformed people like me, who was first time I had been to a foreign nation, and that was actually into a real very demanding
they
customer.
Were actually on the top of world for the industry revolution at that time.
Yes. I think Japan was at the peak of their innovation.
Yes.
Sony was actually the real gem of the companies at that point of time, and that experience is actually really transformed people like me who are worked at that point of time at Nest. Most of our projects were actually from Japan.
Japan.
And the kind of expectation that customer was having the kind of meticulous planning that they are doing,
Yes.
the way actually they getting into the attention to the details, right?
Yes.
Those are actually some of the things that we really learned, and the quality aspects, right? How to build something with quality. When you say 10.1 means actually it should be 10.1. It should not be 10.1.01.
Yes.
So that kind of preciseness is actually a Japanese attitude, and that since actually we were working with a lot of big companies in Japan, and they were very meticulous and they cannot compromise on the quality. So that actually helped us as a team to become successful. Initially, it was very painful because we always have that jugaad mindset, right?
You can relax, you do something, you relax, and go back.
And we all were youngsters, so when some tight deadlines were there, actually, that kind of focus was actually initially was not there, but that environment actually transformed and shaped us a lot. So Japanese experiences I really value in my 3 decades of my career. Those 4-5 years were really transformed the way actually we interact with the people, the kind of expectation that we are setting, or the attention to the details, where we and what kind of where we have to draw the line, right?
Yes,
those kind of things are actually
and also their models are quite economical also. They are optimizing the cost.
Yes. Very cost sensitive.
Yes.
They are cost conscious in all aspect. And the big boss also joins the team who is actually cleaning the workflow, right? So those kind of that kind of environment is actually really shaped a lot of youngsters who are at that time with us. All of them, I can see all of them are actually really successful also, because during the formative years when we got that kind of training, it's actually really helped. And now people who started companies on their own, they are actually having those same kind of methodologies that they are still implementing. So that way, one way speaking, the Japanese culture, which was we experienced during our formative years, we were able to carry on in our career also. So that was I would say, the initial few years of my career.
So what was the working hours? I heard it's 9 hours.
9 hours, maybe till the last train goes from the. So usually the train, Tokyo. We were working at Tokyo, so Tokyo the trains will be till midnight. So most of the time we go from the office actually running for the last train. Those are actually some of the good experiences. But most of the managers whom we have worked with in Japan, all are very good. Even though they are taskmasters, but they have their own way of handling things, and we were able to see very closely how they are building the team. So those are actually some of the biggest learning from that experience.
Okay, all right. So you were mostly on which domain? Healthcare.
In the last few years, actually, out of the 30 years, maybe 15 years in healthcare domain itself. Yes.
Yeah, because still, if you look at these medical equipments around the world, Japanese technology is still at the top.
Medical technology, I would say, in my experience, so after Japan assignment, I joined actually Siemens Medical in Bangalore. So I was part of their corporate technology team. So we were developing some of the state-of-art platforms for their next generation imaging modalities, imaging and imaging, CT, MR, X-ray kind of devices. So we were developing. I was actually leading one team who was actually responsible for the platform development activity.
Okay.
So and that platform,
that was in Electronic City.
That was Siemens Electronic City office. So I was during my my tenure, actually, I worked in this one medical imaging platform, then PACS, Picture Archival and Communication System Solution, which is actually a common software used in the hospital environment. So those are actually some of the product lines that I was involved with during those days. That was also a big learning. So from Japanese style to German style.
Then both are actually very identical in terms of quality.
Yes, quality as well as the tracking, meticulous planning, all are actually, I would say, I'm not sure whether Japanese systems are inherited from German systems. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because some of the, I could see a lot of similarities in the way actually they are executing projects. But in Germany, what I had seen is actually we don't have to stretch a lot.
Yeah, they have
But during the office hours, actually we need to work very smartly. That is the expectation. Nobody is actually expected to work beyond the office hours and all. So that's a European environment, which is very, it was very, I would say, comfortable environment, nice one. Then I moved to Tata Elxsi in 2010. So at that time we were working, we were building media in the media related technologies, specifically for cable providers and other those kind of media companies. So we were able to build a very good team here in Trivandrum, specifically for the broadband communication side. We at that time, the next wave of transition from a normal desktop based or the distributed computer became cloud based
centralized computing.
From a centralized computing to a cloud based systems. So that evolution started in 2011. Now some of the projects that we worked are really state of art at that point of time. Then in 2015 I joined back Nest. I mean, it became Quest Global by that time. So I joined back joined at Quest Global in 2015. Again in the healthcare domain.
Again back to healthcare.
Back to healthcare. So somehow getting back to healthcare was like a returning
going
back to home.
Your comfort space.
That is and we were able to build a good team. It was very nice experience. We could work very closely with some of the big leaders in the imaging technologies across the world, US, Europe, Japan. So at that point, one point of time, all the top 5 customers were actually our, all the top 10 leaders in the medical industries actually our customers. So that was actually a very satisfying experience. And in 2019, the seeds of entrepreneurship slowly, it's actually started in our, some of our friends, we were together and in our common conversation. So this slowly, I would say, budding stage. So we want to do something different. That was actually the trigger point. What are the things that we can do? Because we were doing some of the advanced technology things for the various customers, right?
Yes.
So how this kind of technology is actually, why actually we cannot develop similar technology in some of the other areas. That was actually the quest at that point of time.
Yes.
So we were exploring few things what can be done. So our first project that we got is actually for optimizing a kind of weather algorithms for one of the Japanese company. And that triggered, accelerated because we have an order in place. So we have to start a company.
So all of a sudden you were in a healthcare background last almost 15 years. Now all of a sudden weather. How it actually happened?
That is also an interesting thing. So first project that we got is actually in the weather domain. So optimizing the algorithms, or we have to come up with an AI model which can support the weather prediction related
Okay.
thing. But during the COVID and all, it became it was very stagnant. Then suddenly after the COVID, we were looking for what will we do. That was the big question. Then the weather, because we got a small exposure in the weather at that time, so we thought, okay, and increasingly a lot of random weather events are actually happening.
Yes,
After
there are
the
a lot of natural calamities happening.
yeah, 2018 onwards,
Yes.
it is actually a kind of recurring event, right? Only during the COVID time, it was less. But after that, again, landslides, all those things happened across the world. So one of the brainwave of our CTO is actually, okay, whether we can use the passively sense the satellite signal and come up with a hyperlocal weather prediction. Because most of the weather prediction today is actually depends on the weather balloon launches.
Oh, okay.
And
That is that too on centers, certain centers.
yeah, only at certain centers.
Yeah.
So is it possible to do the 24/7 monitoring of the atmospheric parameters? That was the brainwave at that point of time. How we can do that
Yeah.
in a cost-effective manner? Because there are options like if you are using radar, weather radars, actually you can do it continuously. But the problem is actually weather radar pretty expensive.
Yeah, I hear that in Japanese they are very active and sensing because they used to get tsunamis because very highly active earth in the Japanese area.
Yeah, Japanese weather prediction and tracking the typhoon, all those things are actually really great. And also they have this kind of weather stations all across the
board,
country.
Yeah. Okay.
So and it's in comparison with India,
Size is
the
small,
size
yeah.
is also less, and they have and their innovations are actually really matured to a certain extent. So they can very accurately predict when it is going to rain, when it is going to snow, when the typhoon is actually going to struck the land. And they can meticulously plan all their Shinkansen trains according to the typhoons. So they do all those things very meticulously.
Yeah.
So in early 2010 and all, in India, because most of the time the cyclone hit mostly the eastern region,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
Orissa, Bengal,
Yes.
Andhra coast is always prone to that one. So
And also the heavy casualty because they
Yeah.
don't know the path.
actually. But now, if you really look at now, last year and all,
Yeah, it's almost 1 meter prediction.
yeah, it's very nicely we had done, right? That
Yeah.
the evacuation process was actually in place.
Yeah.
There is a system in place. I think the human casualty was actually very less.
Yes.
And that is also again because of out of the curiosity, people had gone there to see how the cyclone is hitting.
Resistance to obey the authorities.
Yeah.
request.
That is actually created all these problems. So our objective is actually how we can do the 24/7 monitoring of the atmospheric parameters, and using those atmospheric parameters, how we can come up with a hyperlocal weather prediction.
Yeah.
So that was our one of the idea that we had submitted to Kerala Startup Mission, and our idea got selected. We got the research grant initially, and with the support of Kerala government only we could start that. That was actually our first main revenue, I would say.
Okay.
First grant that we received from Kerala Startup Mission. And Kerala Startup Mission, what they have done is actually they connected us with the Kerala KDISC, Innovation and Development Council for Kerala. So they are actually working very closely with the KSDMA, Kerala State Disaster Management Authority under Dr. Shekhar Kuriakose. So they were exploring. So we had few meetings with Shekhar sir, and he also was interested, and he was ready to try out this in one of his sites.
Okay.
So at that time, Kanichar in northern Kerala had experienced few landslides.
Frequent landslides.
I think in 3 days' time there were some 48 different locations the landslide happened. But it was not as severe as Churalmala. Shekhar sir suggested us, why don't you work with IIT Roorkee, who had developed a Uttarakhand, who had developed a landslide prediction system for Uttarakhand region.
Okay.
So they want to have weather parameters. So our piloting is actually going to happen there.
Receive some input from weather. Based on that, they can predict it.
Yeah, basically, our responsibility is actually to give the next 10-hour or 12-hour weather, how it's actually the atmospheric parameters like temperature, pressure, humidity. So how these parameters are going to be, we will be providing this information to IIT Roorkee, and they have their own model to predict the early warning system.
Okay.
So it's actually going to be, if everything goes well, that may become one of the first landslide early warning system in the country. It's actually we are going to pilot it this from next quarter onwards.
So how long is running in testing?
It is going. So we have completed the weather related thing almost 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
So we have deployed at some of our places, our houses only currently.
Okay.
So we are predicting from. So we are based out of Test Research Park. So we have placed our sensors in these locations, and we are and the system is actually running, and we are doing some of the enhancements also that is happening. So the formal piloting in the field is actually going to happen from next quarter. As part of the KDISC initiative.
Okay.
So that is first, I would say, from a product perspective.
Yeah, first rollout.
First rollout is going to happen at that time.
Okay. So this model, so basically you are actually predicting the weather. And so this is kind of a new technology, right? Completely we developed indigenously, and it's not available, right? It's completely, or is it you're using some existing technology?
Actually, the technology was existing because we are using GNSS tomography only. So what we are doing is actually we are sensing the atmospheric parameters by passively sensing the satellite signal.
Okay.
So that is actually the novelty of our because now a lot of satellites are there, right? Every time if you look into the horizon, you will get a lot of GNSS satellites.
Okay.
So we are sensing that satellite and computing the delay, and using that actually we are came up with this model.
Okay. That means you can put this measurement equipment anywhere.
Yeah. That is possible because it's actually a very small one, and the power requirement is also very small. Only thing is actually we need to place the antenna in an open sky. It should have that open sky.
Direct to satellite communication. Okay.
So that's the only requirement. So we can basically, it's a very small one, and currently the data sensing part is that is the device we used for the data sensing, and it is connected to a cloud-based. We are using standard numerical weather prediction models only with inputs from the sensor. That is how actually it is being calculating the hyperlocal for, I would say, not nowcasting, not forecasting, it's nowcasting from current time to maybe 4 hours or 6, because that is actually more important, right?
Yes.
From the hyperlocal.
So you can reduce the window. That's the more
accurately. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So the kind of so for example, if we are able to successfully roll out and we can place these sensors at various places, the advantage is actually in agriculture when somebody is actually putting their pesticides or the fertilizer in those kind of things. Actually, we will know, okay, next 10 hours if it is going to rain, then there is no point in using these kind of things. So the smart farming can be done using this kind of innovation.
I mean, lot of loss can be prevented if you know whether there is what is going on, whether it is going to be rain, it's going to be late.
Yes.
Because it's all time dependent, right?
Correct.
Parameters.
Correct. So the real thing is actually in 2022, I think, if I recollect correctly, the IPL final, it was in Ahmedabad. First final was actually completely washed out, right?
Yes.
because nobody actually predicted that kind of rain is going to happen, and it was so horrible rain for so many hours, and they couldn't start the play. Yeah, and the final was washed out for the first day. Then the second day, after all those things, only they were able to dry the pitch, and we could do that. And it's the kind of loss that might have incurred is actually really huge, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of big events happens, then hyperlocal weather prediction is actually very much needed. Nowcasting as well as hyperlocal forecasting is also very much needed.
Okay.
And the tropical weather is actually a challenging thing. So all the weather experts are also having challenges in predicting this nature in a precise manner.
Right.
That's eventually we may have to use AI-based models, and that is what actually we are also aiming at.
Okay.
For the better, accurate prediction.
Okay.
This is what we are doing.
So you are building the models now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we are in that job.
All right. So that we have a lot of data in place. So analyzing this, you can predict what is going to happen.
Yeah. The advantage of the weather system is that lot of data, the past data is available.
Yes.
At least almost as like a century kind of thing. The data is available.
Yeah.
So only thing is actually how we should.
Yeah, I think nowadays, for example, a heavy rain is happening in few days. You can always see the news that is being compared with past data. It happened 15 years before, 20 years before. Now it is available.
Yeah. So based on that, actually, a lot of informed decisions and insights can be generated. So that is actually an area of good research. A lot of potential new products can become the output of that analysis.
Okay. Right.
So what we are developing is actually a next generation antenna, which will be next generation sensing solution, I would say.
Okay.
Which will be quantum sensing technology based solution, which will be very small,
almost
compact.
Invisible antenna.
Yeah. We have to develop our own technology. So Make in India is actually a great initiative.